My name is Jerome Ferry. My cameraman is Alan Eggers. We're doing an interview with Dick Davis, a lifelong Cedar Rapidian, who along with his dad and brother owned and operated the Dairy Maid country stores in Cedar Rapids. Dick, tell us what year and when and where you were born.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa, St. Luke's Hospital.
What year?
December 1st of 1925.
Mm-hmm. What was your parents' names?
Russell Davis and Ruth Davis.
What was her maiden name?
Her maiden name was Miller.
Mm-hmm.
She grew up in Mechanicsville, and Dad grew up in Blairstown.
Mm-hmm.
And they met here in Cedar Rapids.
Any
Dad had an ice cream or milk route, but he delivered around the houses. And he lived on Washington Avenue. He said that this one family had a bunch of girls, and I guess he must have got a date with my mother, and that's how it ended up.
That's how that started. Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have a brother Robert and a brother Ralph and a sister Shirley.
Are they all living today?
No, brother Bob was died of a horse injury accident. He was a horse reared up and he hit his head on the blacktop, which killed him. And then Ralph lives in Florida, and Shirley lives at the retirement home on Pineview on the west side.
What did your dad do early on? Do you remember? Did he ever tell you what he did when he was a young boy?
Well, my dad told me that as his young boy, they lived in Blairstown, Iowa. And they come to here, and I figured about 1915 or so, to Cedar Rapids. They bought a farm out on it used to be the Benton Road, the road that goes to Palo and Shelburne, and it was 160 acres of not that great of land. But Dad grew up there, and he went to Washington High School. Now, the old Washington was a big stone building. It's too bad it's gone, because it was they just ain't building stuff like that nowadays in Green Square. And then, of course, across from that, they had the Union Depot, which is a super place that they couldn't wait to bulldoze down. I don't know what's the matter with these people.
What did your dad do for an occupation?
Okay, here's what he did for occupation. He farmed on a farm, finished school at Washington High, and then he started delivering milk with a wagon.
For
Moore's Dairy. Now that was on the west side, and the Moore's Dairy turned in after years to become Blue Valley Dairy, then Sanitary Dairy. Now today it's Swiss Valley, but they sold down. And today, at the time when he started, there was probably 60 or 70 dairies operating in Cedar Rapids, which means somebody had 2 or 3 cows, would put the milk in the bottles and maybe deliver it to some neighbors or somebody over town. Some of the dairies were bigger. There was a picture of the milk wagons down behind the police station on First Street, that they tore the one building down, and how it was the dairy down there, and how big lines of milk wagons. I've seen it with with the horses, guys were getting ready to go out, but they delivered milk from house to house because there weren't no supermarkets. The biggest supermarket was probably maybe twice as big as this room. And a lot of stores, there was stores on every corner in Cedar Rapids. There were so many stores that sometimes there'd be, in one neighborhood, be one across the street from the other one, or one up the other end of the block. But people didn't have cars, and they had to walk. My wife, when I met her, she lived up from Colt College on B Avenue, and her dad had already died, but he worked at Quaker Road. Sit down over there one day and died of a heart attack. But I know that part of their life as they're married, they didn't have a car. So they went in a streetcar or they walked. And, we're so mobile today, we just they can't even fathom how things used to be.
Yeah. Where was your first place you lived that you can remember?
First place I can remember was on Edgewood Road at, I think, 410 Edgewood Road. Dad bought 3 acres there. And it was a 3-bedroom house with a basement in it and everything. I mean, nothing fancy. And I know that it was a garage outside of it, and he decided to go into dairy business for himself. And Grandpa and his dad had the farm out on Pino Road, about 5 miles, well, yeah, four and a half miles probably out from downtown River to Cedar Rapids, so it was close into Cedar Rapids.
That would have been what is called 94 now?
94 now.
What was it called then? Was it 94?
Well, the Benton Road.
The Benton Road.
Or it's where a place went, they generally called it by that. But he worked for Moore's Dairy for a long time, and then he decided to go in business for himself. And he named his dairy the White Rose Dairy, and it was in commemoration to his mother. She liked white roses or something. He bought an old real truck, I think, and it's stood out in the country as junk when I was a little boy. It was going. But he ran that dairy for some years, and then when we moved to Edgewood Road, it was Davis Dairy then. And as soon as I can remember, just looking out the window from the dining room, and he had some other people deliver milk for him in some old trucks, and shaky old trucks, and people would bring in milk from the country in the back of a car. I mean, trucks would come in with milk on them, but somebody had a little Model T, and they'd have 2 cans of milk in the back of the Model T, or an old Chevy, they'd have a couple cans of milk in it.
Did dairies pasteurize it at that time?
Our model was, we was the first one of the first to pasteurize it. Yeah, it's got to be pasteurized. If it's pasteurized, it's Davis Dairy milk. It wasn't Dairy Made from the first, it was Davis Dairy.
Davis Dairy.
And I can remember watching the trucks outside, and as a little boy now, my dad used to deliver milk, and he delivered to restaurants around town. One time he had a pickup truck, a little old pickup truck, and he used to go for the restaurants downtown. He liked the restaurants because they'd buy a lot of milk, and this pickup truck open. He had 2 cases sitting in the back and the bottom of cream and milk and cheese and stuff. And he'd maybe put a little ice on it in the summer and go around early in the morning to these restaurants and take some milk in here. I remember there was a Bismarck on First Street, east, north of First Avenue. And I can remember, used to go to Bueller's. They used to sell them dry cheese. They was on First Street across from the Federal Building. I can remember when hamburger was 5 pounds, 6 pounds for $1. Good hamburger. We sold them dry cheese, and they use it in their bulk, dipping like we do today with them. But as a little boy, he started us off really young because I'd be 5. Well, I can remember at 5 years old, with the surplus milk sometime, they got to making cottage cheese. And he got a vat about as long as the table here with the stainless steel. They cooked the milk up so much, and they put a little sour into sour overnight. Then they cook it a little bit more, and they cut it. Then they drain off the whey, and then they put cold water on it, rinse it off. Then they get all that done, they put cream in it. And they salt it down a little bit. And then he had us kids. Oh, boy, the health department go nuts today. Oh. But we did things clean. We washed our hands. I wash my hands when I come into the barn. It's just an old habit. Somebody says I always rinse my hands at least when I go to the bathroom. A lot of people go, oh my. But anyhow, he had us kids help him box that cottage cheese. We box it by hand, a little scoop and box and a thing and slap the lid on it. But he got some men working for him, delivering milk like the northwest side and southwest and east side and downtown. We had 4 or 5 trucks way back in the early 30s. Remember, he started making ice cream in the refrigerator of our house in pans, in ice cube trays. And it wasn't a big sale, but he'd make some for a friend or something, and they'd give him a little bit of money. Of course, back in them days, a quarter was big money. Yeah. Anyway, when this cottage cheese, he had the men out delivering, and he had somebody in the dairy kind of packing up the milk. And he thought really highly. He got the milk manager out of the dairy college of Ames, Iowa. He had some guys from there. It was real, knew what they was doing, making cottage cheese and pasteurized the milk. And it was a white pants and white shirt operation. Mm-hmm. But Dad used to go around trying to get more customers, knock the doors of just different houses around town. And he kind of you know what, now, would you want to buy cottage cheese today? That was a 12-ounce carton. A dime, 10 cents, fresh. And maybe he'd have 20 cartons or 30 cartons. And maybe every week he'd make the same areas. Wait, you bought a cottage cheese last week, I'd stop this week. But he had me. I was only 6 or 5 years old. He'd have me go over to that lady over there and knock and see if she wants a cottage cheese. And I can remember he'd send me over there and send me 10 cents. Why you say, what will we do for 10 cents? Big money.
Did early on like that, did he use ice in his rig or vehicle to keep the product cold or chilled? Or?
Well, maybe way early on, back in the 29s, they had some. They had an ice house on the farm where they cut the ice out of the pond by hand in the winter and put it in the sawdust and cover it with sawdust, like it'd be cover it with blanket or foam nowadays or something. But sawdust was something they had from the wood, and it was a good insulator.
So he'd have his own supply of ice.
Yeah.
Didn't have to buy it.
Well, then later on we did buy it, though.
Yeah. Let's get you into school, Dick. Where did they start you in school?
Well, I started at Edgewood School, number 1, on Edgewood Road, the corner of E Avenue and Edgewood Road.
Yeah. Is there a church sitting there now? Or
The church is there now, Edgewood Baptist Church. And how that come to be, there was 2 other Edgewood schools. One south, 2 miles, Edgewood number 2 on the corner of Wilson and Edgewood. And there was Edgewood number 3, was up across the place called Linger Longer, which is like a nightclub or a dancing hall, kind of in the country, west of Ellis Park. But Edgewood School, I started there. I can remember going to the first room. It's 4-room school. Mrs. Poole was a teacher, and there was another teacher, and Mrs. Kelsey was teacher third and fourth grade. And Mrs. Turner was in charge of 5th and 6th grade, and 7th and 8th. Can't remember her, Mrs. Fiesler, I think. But they had 4 women around the school. There was no superintendent or nothing. Well, there was a college superintendent. But I remember going in there the first day, and we used to like having boxes for pencil boxes, and Mom got me a pencil box with the whole pencils and stuff. But I still remember them kids sitting on the front seat when people was calling. A lot going on the first day. Mothers were bringing kids in, and I can remember also in the first grade room, or first and second grade room, I was a slow learner. Oh, man, I stayed after school. So many times you can't believe. But then I'd talk. One time the teacher said, I'm going to tie your mouth up. So she put a towel around my head and tried to quiet me down. And but then they had another little thing. You had to go stand in the corner, and you had to face the corner. And it wasn't just for 5 minutes, it'd be for an hour or so. And boy, I was in the corner. I really got to know the corner. And I remember the teacher, she had some other kids that were really rowdy. And of course, by the things nowadays, they probably weren't bad at all. But just one kid, he sat back to her, and she slapped him with a ruler. And he slung back at her, and she just banged him right in front of the rest of the kids, right in the room. The kid was screaming and hollering, but discipline is discipline. Anyway, went on to being...
Too bad we don't have a little bit of that today. Discipline like
Well, it's going to come back. I think it's going to come back. But we had kindergarten in first and second grade. We had to come at 3 because he was going to drop off kindergarten. So I played the first 3 rooms, 3 years, in one room. kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. Now what they had when the next year come for kindergarten, they started in first grade. And the slow ones, they put them in with the last year from the first grade. And the better ones they put ahead with the second grader, you know. And,
Did they have indoor plumbing in the school?
Yep, they had indoor plumbing. They had
Drinking water?
drinking water in the school. They had a well system in the basement. And they had a sewer, septic tank outside,
How'd they heat it in the wintertime?
by a furnace in the basement.
Furnace? Mm-hmm.
And they had a custodian would come and sweep the floors at night. And
Did they ever take you on field trips to go out into the country and do different things, the teachers? Or didn't they do that back then?
I took you out in the schoolyard. About that's most I can remember. I can remember when I was in second, third grade, and fourth and fifth. We used to, during recess, we had a 15-minute recess. We started about 9 o'clock in the morning, and we'd have 15. And boy, the kids would all bring their pop guns and their rifles, going to play cowboys and Indians or gangsters, and we'd run around the school banging everybody. We carried guns, not real guns, play guns. Oh, we'd gun out of style. And almost, probably at that time, probably half of the boys in school, in any given day, half of the boys would have an evil pocket knife in their mouth. Now today, you get kicked out of school.
Yeah.
But it was a using tool to cut rope, to cut sticks or stuff.
To whittle? Yeah.
Yep, and it was a tool like something electric today.
When you got up to the 8th grade, Dick, did any of the 8th graders chew tobacco or smoke cigarettes that you remember?
No, not really. No. And none of them really drinking either.
Mm-hmm. How'd you spend your summers as a young boy?
Milk route all summer long.
You never got to go out to stay with your grandpa on the farm, or?
Oh yes, my goodness. We'd go out there at the farm on Friday. Dad went home to the farm. It's only a couple miles away when he got a car. Drive us out there and we'd talk and visit with Mom and Grandma and said, well, you got to stay here tonight? Yeah, I get to stay tonight. And I'd sleep with Grandpa one night, and the next week I'd sleep with Grandma. They slept separate rooms. Different game today, isn't it?
Wonder what that was all about.
Well, it's a Victorian type thing.
Yeah.
Kind of a don't touch, don't do. And
Did he have a dairy herd? Excuse me.
Yeah, they had dairy herd. I used to be out there on the farm with them during the days when I was little. I can remember at Kelsey Place, one year when they was thrashing, they had about 6 or 7 workhorses and teams, like they could have 2 horses in a team, a regular team pulling a wagon. But they have 2 or 3 wagons, sometimes one for grain wagon, one for hay wagon. And but they had one riding horse, Old Prince. It was a big tall horse, and I couldn't hardly get up with the saddle. And I had to get by something to climb up one. But they said, well, you can go off the thrashing down there at Hickey's. So I went down there, and I was around there all day, and I didn't do any work. I was kind of puttering around, being with the big guys. The big guys then were the 14 or 15-year-old guys that were hauling grain or pitching bundles.
Spike pitching and
Yeah.
haying. Do you remember them putting hay up in the barn with loose hay up in the barn?
Loose hay in the barn. They had I don't know how they do it today, but you come in with a loose hay. They start in the field. They'd cut it, mow it. Then they'd rake it and let it dry a little bit. And then the next day or so, they would rake it. And they had a raker that went up on the back of the wagon and throw the hay up. And somebody had to be on the wagon to stack it and get it moved around. And I can remember doing that some hot days. And get a wagon load, and you take it to the barn. Drove right under the door of the barn. They drop a rope down with a big fork on it from the barn, and they stick the little stabber into the hay, They had another rope. And they had pulleys and stuff. Nothing electricity, nothing, no power. And so one year I had a job of leading the old horse. And the old horse had a pulley, and it walked way off the barn.
That would pull it up into
pulled it right up in the barn, and it hit a kicker, and it slid back on a rail. And then they get so far back and where they wanted, and click, and bang it out and give it some more.
Then did you have to pull that rope back, or that you took out across the yard? Did you have to come back and then pull it back so they could pull it back out of the yard or back out of the barn?
I remember Dad talking about when he met Mom and some other friends he went with, ladies. They went in a buggy, not because it was classy or something. That's all they had to go out on a day with. And they'd go to Cedar Rapids and maybe be there for a dance or something on the weekend or something. Then they'd go home at night. And he'd fall asleep going home. And poof, first thing you know, the horse is home. Pull in the barn, the wagon comes up, can't go in any further, so he wakes up. And he said that happened many times.
The horse knew his way home then. How about Grandma? Imagine she had one of the old cook stoves, the old
This kind of really gets me today. You know, she had a big old black cook stove, and my mother at Dad's dairy, and they had a white gas stove, and very antique today, but it was new then.
Yeah.
And Grandma had that big old black cook stove. I said, "Oh, Grandma, you got to get rid of this ugly thing. Oh, ugly thing." But as I look at it today, it would be a dream today because you have hot water on top. You can have tea or coffee, warm all the time. The little sticks and stuff and papers that you got to haul in the garbage, you just throw them in there and they burn and give you a little heat for the house. Boy, we went crazy.
And of course, when you had a cook stove like that, one of the chores, you had to put up wood every summer to last you through the winter months.
Yes, but the cook stove only kept the kitchen warm.
Okay.
And they had maybe the front room would have another big belly stove that burned chunks of wood.
Do you remember them going out into the timber and putting up wood?
Yeah, go out and cut wood. And they buzzsaw it on the end of a tractor when they did get a tractor. And they got their first tractor just before World War II started, about 1939. It was an old Oliver. Yeah, but they had a thing on it, and you get a belt on it. And pull a big belt, to your saw. And they get it going and get the tractor going and get it swinging. And the belt, the spin thing going like this. If you put the wood right in it and cut chunks off. No power saws as such.
How did your grandma keep stuff cool? Did she have a well or
They had a basement on the house. And they go down the basement and she just chops in little pans and little jars and put them on the basement steps. And we had a well outside the house where you pumped drinking water out of the ground. And they had a pump in the house, which was a cistern in a hole next to the edge of the house in the ground, which caught the rainwater off the roof. And it made it soft water, good washing water, and wasn't purified to drink. And the drinking water was in a 3-gallon bucket sitting up by a cupboard with a dipper in it. Not no paper cups or everybody got their cup thing. Everybody take a drink, put it back in. If they had water left, they put it back in too.
Yeah.
And
do you remember going down into the cellar on hot summer days to cool off? It'd be so nice and cool down there.
Not so much. Not to go down just to cool off.
Did you have a local swimming hole?
Oh yeah.
In the neighborhood?
Morgan Creek. The Morgan Creek was only about 3 inches deep, but sometimes a log would cause the place to be about 3 or 4 feet deep, and you could float around a little bit. But it was always nice. That was what we did in the hot summer.
Did you have buddies that would you'd go to the creek with to go swimming? And
well, sometimes part of the family would go. And
did you ever have to look yourself over for bloodsuckers when you come out of there, or didn't they have cattle in the creek?
They had some cattle in the creek sometimes. Sometimes the cattle would be standing up the creek for a ways
Upstream from you.
from you, and they'd be making more water up creek than you'd be down the creek. So,
But it didn't bother you.
no, I used to be out myself at Grandma's house, and I can remember when I got to be 7 or 8, I'd run around a little more, and I'd be back in the timber on the creek. And I said, "Boy, hot. Peel off your clothes, curl in for a while, put them back on."
That felt good, didn't it, on a hot
it
summer
sure
day? Did your grandpa ever hire you to trap gophers?
Yeah, but I never did. The ground squirrels was the thing. They had a little sheep pasture right next to the house. They had 10 or 20 sheep. And the little animals would dig a hole in the ground, and they'd come up and they'd look out around. And he said, "You get a bucket of water and go out there and dump it down that hole." And they'd come running up and they'd get them. And gophers, they were getting 10 cents for gopher peach years ago. It's a bounty.
Did you take them to the courthouse, or was there any place you could take them to get paid from the county for them?
Yeah, I can't remember where it was at, but it was a county or something.
How about July 4th? Was that a big deal when you was a kid? Any memories of July?
Oh, July 4th. We used to go in the stores weeks before 4th of July. Every store, any store, they'd have a table with fireworks on it, bombs and everything else, not just sparklers, but all kinds of fireworks. And anybody could buy them that had money. And you buy little ones, you buy rockets, you buy blasters, and we used to shoot fireworks before 4th of July, but the 4th of July it was bang, bang all over the place. But Dad used to do something for us as we got a little older. About 8 or 9, we lived on the dairy farm, a dairy house. He bought us a case of Herman Pop on 4th of July. Cream soda and strawberry and cherry soda and root beer and no Pepsi at that time. And there was cola was separate. But 24 bottles, that was for the whole family. Not every day, but the summer. But we looked over that with big pride. And
Can you remember those bubbles going up your nose when you first take a swig of that pop?
yeah,
Taste. You can remember the taste of it.
we had a store next to us on the Edgewood Road across from the school. It was Bird's store, and they used to be able to get bread up there, and they didn't carry milk because most of the neighbors around had a cow or they got milk from the neighbors or something. And they had all kinds of canned goods, but they had fresh bread. The bread trucks used to bring bread every day, fresh. And it was, I remember it was a nickel loaf for a while, then it went up to a dime. Dime a loaf. And
Unheard of.
fresh at the little store.
Circuses. Do you remember any circuses as a kid?
Man, I remember Dad used to take us to the circus whenever we come to town, and we'd be traveling around town helping deliver milk. You know, when the circus was coming to town, and they didn't come to town in trucks; they come on the train. The big circuses, Ringling Brothers and Cole Brothers, and some of them other big circuses, and they'd have 2 or 3 flat car trains. One would carry the first part of the train, or maybe the tents and stuff. Next one would be the animals, and maybe the third one would be the performers, like in living cars, you know. But remember in the morning when they set up on the west side, I can remember the circus. Well, it used to be down where Link Bell Speeder was. There was a lot of open space down there, and there was circuses down in there, and it was quite a bit of space, and it was close to tracks. And I was just a little kid then. But when they put the circus on, they come in town in the morning, they put the tent up. I mean, everybody was working. And then the performers would all get horses and wagons and go down the main street in town and make a parade and go back to the show. And that was kind of their advertisement. And in the afternoon, they'd have a show. And everybody would come, you know. They'd put a show on. I remember they put the circus up with the elephant, like the tent, like we pulled the hay at the barn, and the tent was a block long, a super huge tent, but it just went up gradual. As the elephant moved, and they hooked up, and then they hook up again. And remember, full 4 men pounded stakes in the ground. Each one taking his turn, and those stakes just go down like this. And of course, nowadays they got different things, but they'd have big wagons coming out with the lion wagon and the leopard wagon and another wagon with the monkeys in it, big and beautiful wagons, all, but it's for show and display. They generally had a menagerie tent. As you walk in, you go through the menagerie, look at all the things like that, and then you go in the main tent and sit down, and they'd have bleacher seats all around. And all he said to me, they had a circus wagon that went down through town when they had the parade, and the circus wagon would have the circus band would play a lot of horns and wonderful music. And they'd be on top of the wagon. They had little seats on top of a big wagon, colored wagon. And they'd put on a circus. And there had aerial people up there jumping from wire to wire, way up there. People were walking a wire with nothing underneath them. And other times they had things. And they used to have a big cage downstairs, and a guy get in there and fight lions and leopards and tigers and stuff, and whip them back and try and make them put these heads in their mouth and all that stuff.
Did your dad ever take you out to the Old Hunter Airport?
Yeah, we used to go by that quite a bit. I was on Highway 218 going to Iowa City. It was quite a ways out of Cedar Rapids in. And
did you ever see an airplane or ever get a ride in an early airplane when you was a young
I
child?
went in a tri-motor Ford plane. I think it was $1 a ticket. Could not even scare up $1. But they went over to Cedar Rapids, and they had a big crowd of people. And I must have been in about 33 or so.
Mm-hmm. Floods, you remember you have any memories of bad floods in Cedar Rapids you may have been involved in or around in?
What's that?
Floods, the Cedar River flooding?
Well, currently there was flooding next to when the old dam was crossing Quaker Roads, and they got the National Guard out that one year, and the water come clear up, and I was down there filling sandbags that one year helping.
Mm-hmm. Motion pictures. Did you get to go to the movies when you was a little boy?
We went to movies quite often.
Walk?
Well, on Saturdays I'd ride the bike. I went to the Roundel Theater. That was on First Avenue and 3rd Street, almost to 4th Street. And sometime I remember one time coming out after the 2 features, a serial, a couple of cartoons, and it cost $0.10. And then coming out, there was bicycles parked on the sidewalk, thick, all the way from the theater all the way to 3rd Street corner. I mean, there was still room for people to walk by, but they had just a pile of bicycles. And
would your dad give you a little money for helping him in the dairy, or?
Oh, yeah, he gives money sometimes, give me a quarter, 35 cents.
Yeah.
I'd go up to the store and buy candy with a Bird store. Always went to Bird store.
Bird store.
Bird, that was on the corner. It was Edgewood and across from the school.
A grocery store?
Yeah.
Bird store.
Not a Bird store. B-U-R-D.
B-U-R-D.
And Jack Bird. I mean, that was the first place I ever tasted Pepsi-Cola. People used to buy a pint of ice cream there for $0.10 and sit out there and eat it. But our ice cream was a regular ice cream place that sold it to them. But remember the one time I got this new drink, Dick, and they always had Coca-Cola bottle for a nickel. But this new one's Pepsi come out with a 12 ounce, 4 extra ounces for a nickel also. So I can, it's kind of bitter, awful tasting stuff. Wasn't like strawberry or grape. But anyway, now it's gone a long way since then.
Yeah. When you were a young boy, would your folks let you out on Halloween night?
Oh yeah, yeah. We go around and show people's windows. And, it wasn't go up and knock something. It was doing something ornery. Like if they had an outhouse, we pushed the outhouse over. I can remember my dad saying one time that one of the neighbors girls got married, took another guy out in the country, and him and another guy gonna pull some foolishness. So they had churned ice cream, in a freezer, went out for the wedding reception. Some guys that snuck in the back and took the whole thing and ran away with it. And people were out, they called the sheriff almost, and probably they set it out in the middle of the street about a couple blocks away. I mean, they got it back.
You, when you was a young boy, Dick, do you remember gypsies plying the roads in the neighborhood?
Yep. I can still see a car go by on Edgewood Road. We used to sell berries out in the front yard. We had picked strawberries in the summer in our backyard, we'd sell them for a nickel a quart or a dime a quart or something. And picked raspberries. We had a big patch of raspberries. And we had like a little stand. We didn't sell much, but we stood ahead anyhow. But we'd be on, we could see the things going by. But an old car went by and a bunch of people. I said, well, they didn't sure look like gypsies. And of course, Grandpa used to lived out in the country, had an old timber on Morgan Creek. And once in a while he'd have somebody, went to camp over there for a while. And it wasn't regular campers, it was people traveling through like gypsies. And
what road was called the Red Ball Road?
that's E Avenue.
E Avenue.
I can remember being down home, which was only a block away, on an afternoon, summer afternoon, crash, bang, boom, and with both intersections there with no stop signs, and they get to going fast. Somebody had a car at that time. Somebody would come down E Avenue and bang up. And the ambulance would come and haul people away.
Do you remember, you would have been 10 years old, around 10 years old. The Depression, do you remember your dad saying anything? Did it hurt him in his business, or was the milk business pretty stable?
Like people would, when the retail route you'd deliver them and you'd have a collection day coming up and they said, we don't have the money. So he said, well, I'll go and get another couple of weeks and another couple of weeks. And sometimes a dime quart of milk would be $50 or $100, which would be big money in them days. But then other people could pay and got it. I can remember that the trucks out along the Benton Road, we come to town with milk in the morning in the old Model T, coming to the dairy. You have a couple of cans from the farm, and a big truck of men workers would be out there with shovels and wheelbarrows along the road, kind of grading up the road and digging the ditches out, all with shovels. All with shovels. And they worked awful hard.
So when did you, what year did you graduate from high school, and where did you go to high school?
I graduated in 8th grade. And 8th grade from Edgewood, to get out of 8th grade, you had to take a big test. And it went down to Mount Vernon, that was a county too. Went to school one day and we had to take some tests and written tests and stuff, and if we'd pass.
You had to go to Mount Vernon?
Yeah, we went to Mount Vernon, all the class did.
Oh, great.
It wasn't like an outing, but it was a thing to do.
You had it. How did you get there, by automobile or?
Yeah. That was later on, was by automobile. And down Highway 30, old Highway 30.
Did you, I'm familiar with it. Did you have any trouble passing this final exam?
Well, by the skin of my teeth, by the mercy of the teacher. But I passed. I remember we had a graduation party, and we had valedictorian, and our graduation class in 8th grade was about 15 or 20. It was up to about 15 or 20, 16 maybe.
Yeah.
And it was quite an affair. We used to have PTA at the school there on the corner on about Friday night once a month. And that was the thing. We're going to PTA night. So they'd take the kids with them. The kids would run around the schoolhouse while the folks were inside having a business meeting, and they had a head of the business meeting, and the boys would be chasing the girls would be chasing the boys, and then you'd have a little lunch afterward.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, did you go to high school?
Well, I graduated from there and started Roosevelt High School.
Roosevelt.
Went to Roosevelt High School, 9th grade, and passed.
Did you like high school?
Yeah, it was a good experience. It was. I went to 10th grade, and in 10th grade, when I was in 10th grade, I was 16 in December. And 7 days after I was 16, Pearl Harbor happened. I remember I was over at a girl's house one day, riding a horse down on 17th Street, southwest. And I thought in the front yard, this was winter, but it was a nice day in the winter, Sunday afternoon. And he yelled out, "Well, Pearl Harbor, they bombed." And so we rode the horse home. People used to go around on horses. We used to have a cutter, which is a kind of a fancy sleigh pulled by a horse. And we used to go up and down the roads in the winter when it's snow on the ground. And that was always big fun. And of course, I remember Grandpa coming to town, hauling stuff into town in a horse and wagon because it was too big for a car, didn't have a truck. And I remember feeding hogs and having chickens. My uncle used to take me trapping. He'd get up early in the morning, go out and run these traps. It's a kind of a hobby, but to make some money too.
Before we get too far along with your life, when you were younger, do you remember taking streetcars? Riding? We were talking.
When I had my birthday in 16, Roosevelt School, I said, "Dad, I got this one girl I want to take out for." So Sunday at noon, we got on a streetcar by the Roosevelt School. We rode downtown in the streetcar and went to Butterfly Cafe. That was one of the coolest cafes downtown Cedar Rapids. And we got something, and I didn't know how to eat it or how to cut it or nothing. And it was kind of a farce. I mean, she looked at me and I looked at her, and we tried to be cool, but not cool is a term nowadays, but we're trying to be dignified in what we did.
Yes.
I remember going to Paramount Theater and the State Theater and Iowa Theater for movies, and the old Majestic Theater was across from, it's the corner of 3rd Street and Avenue. And it was there, and then they had a lot of vaudeville there to come through, and a lot of vaudeville coming to Cedar Rapids from Chicago and from other cities. Played in the Iowa Theater with a stage play with the movies, And I remember going down, one time going down to Czech part of town, down on 3rd Street. They had the Strand Theater, right at 12th Avenue and 3rd Street Southeast. And we used to go there on Saturday night. They had an auction, so you went in to pay a dime for your ticket. And then they'd have a drawing or auction stuff off. And they have chickens and ducks, and I said, I want to win that, and not win it, but buy that, or we win that, and that was a big point. It'd be a big crowd there.
Yeah. We were talking downstairs. You were telling about the streetcar. There used to be a streetcar line that ran to Mount Vernon.
That was interurban, bigger than a streetcar.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That interurban line?
I remember being in Lisbon one evening when that was the end of the line down there, when the streetcar was on Main Street, and we was going through town. I think we stopped, but
Did you ever take the interurban to Iowa City?
yep, took the interurban to Iowa City. Took it also out to the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds is south end of Cedar Rapids, and that was a diamond trip from downtown. And well, how come you didn't take your car? Well, wasn't a lot of cars available. I remember when the interurban also used to run to Waterloo too, another line.
So, did you get involved? Did you enlist in service or?
No, I after 10th grade, Dad had about 5 or 6 milk routes. They had guys hired to deliver them, and had to keep them going. And first thing you know, I said, well, George got drafted. And I got a new man for him. And this one summer of 10th grade, he had me go with this guy. Well, 2 o'clock in the morning, go out and deliver milk. Got this new guy that's on this route. And the other guy went to service, and the new guy started and said, go help him. Well, he went 1 week with me. I went with him 1 week. And the first part of the next week, he didn't show up. I said, well, Dad, you take it. It was an old 35 vehicle truck. And I delivered on the southwest side when I was 16. And it was like a full-time job. I delivered milk all day, every day. And
Was 3 o'clock in the morning, was that a typical morning for a milk route? Or getting up, I mean?
3 and 4, that's right.
Do you still find yourself today getting up early? No. You got out of that habit.
Well, remember the milk routes? We used to help Dad or Dad's right-hand man, deliver the restaurants downtown on Saturday. Saturday was a big day downtown. Remember one year, when after the war got started, we had the depot, the Union Depot, where the trains come through. They give them a call about noon on Sunday. We need 500 half pints of milk. We got that milk like that. So Dad said, well, I know, we'll go out and milk Grandpa's cows. And we'll bottle that milk's up. So they went down, and everybody hustled, went out and milked them cows. And put caps on, put the strange strain of milk, wasn't processed or nothing. It was like people would use stuff nowadays. And put it on the train in bottles, glass, round bottles. The train went through. I worked on that dairy route all my 11th grade year in school. And about the end part of my 11th grade, or my 12th grade, I got a call for induction. I was become 18 and I had to sign up. And they said, well, you had to go down to Old Whitmore Building, which is the old post office, and meet down there about 4 in the morning. Had a bus pick up all kinds of stranger guys. All you get on the bus went down to a camp. Well, down in the morning it was a Camp Dodge. Camp Dodge, and they run us to a building all day long, checking us over and looking in our throat and up our ears and everywhere else.
Every orifice in your body?
Yeah, and I thought about, gee, we were around half naked all day long, a big building like that. Get in line. And when I was in January, I was called up to, but then I was finally called to go on March 15th.
Did you end up overseas, or did you lucky enough to stay stateside?
No, I wasn't lucky. That's the funny part about it today, and everybody thinks, well,
you wanted to go overseas. You wanted to go where the action was.
I can't believe, I got drafted went down to Des Moines in induction, and he said, well, you're going to the Navy, you're going to the Army. Well, I went to the Navy, and they said, as a Navy guy over here, says, Anybody want to jump off the Marines? A couple of guys jumped up. He said, take these brooms and sweep up the floor. They went to the Marines, though. But remember, we went to Des Moines and we got on a train after induction on the 15th of March of 44. And we, old train cars, probably Abraham Lincoln type cars, but we had a lot of railroads in Iowa. It was out in Des Moines, went out of Des Moines and went north somewhere and changed railroads at night. And I remember all night long getting here. We finally got to St. Paul, or Minneapolis, Minnesota, next morning. And they took us to the depot to have lunch in the restaurant, and they paid for it. Next, they put us on the Sioux line, which is Milwaukee, the passenger train that went to across Minnesota, Dakotas, Montana, and come to Farragut, Idaho, outside of Spokane, Washington. Well, they went to Spokane, Washington, and unloaded us and hauled us out to camp. And I was at boot camp there for a couple months. Then I come home, and on the boot leave, and then I went back again. And I went to, after out there, getting everybody placed. Well, we need somebody on this ship. We're going to send this guy to electronic school and this guy to, well, I sent to a cook school to become a cook. I wasn't too smart on some other stuff, but I could fry beans and eggs, I suppose. And they put us on a troop train out there. They had a troop train of 5, 6 cars on a train with a whole lot of inductees. And they had a baggage car. And it says, so many of you guys are going to be cooks. A lot of you are going to become electricians, and the rest of you are going to become motor mechanics. And, but yeah, it wasn't a regular passenger train, it was a troop train. And we come out of Spokane, going east to Minnesota, and then we come south, and I don't think we went into Minneapolis this time. We come down and hit the northwestern line. And it was big floods that one year. It was about end of May. And the fields had big pools of water in them. And the train got to Boone, Iowa, going toward Ames, Iowa, for the cook school. It was going to be in the Iowa State College. And it lasted 16 weeks. And they had to come after us in a truck because some of the rail lines were flooded out and the roads were bad. So they come down Highway 30 and hauled us up there. And I was up there for the summer. Then we, out of boot camp, the guys would all get friendly with one another and say, where are you going? Well, I want to go where the action is. Now, they didn't want to go when they went, nobody wanted to die, but they all wanted to go where things were going on. And people can't understand, don't want to go hide or go sit in an office somewhere. Well, some probably were that way, but most of them wanted to go where the action was. And I really think the guys in Iraq today are about that way. Mm-hmm. It's back here as civilians, we can't realize the mentality of them guys. But we went to, after we left here, we got done in Ames, we had a 10-day in transfer leave. And so I went home for a couple of days, and then I got on the train and traveled to, by myself to Oakland, California. And in Oakland, California, they took us on a bus to Shoemaker, Camp Shoemaker, but they had all kinds of Navy fellows there, which is 10 guys going to this ship and 50 going to that ship and 2 signalmen to that ship, and but it was a displacement area. Yeah. So I was there about a week. Remember, we needed some money. We got Liberty at night to go out. Man, I didn't have any money. So they paid $1 an hour to work in a canning factory. Big money. So I went and worked in the canning factory at San Jose, California. Just went on my Liberty that afternoon. Made $6 or $7 for handling cases. Oh, heavy cases all day. Stacked them and stuff like that. But then I got put on a ship, and the ship we left Shoemaker with the 5 or 6 guys that were going to be on the ship. One guy was in charge. We got on the East Coast, West Coast train and went from Oakland south to L.A. We come to L.A. Well, it was about a day and a half or so. Remember the train stopped along the railroad and in fields and crops out there. It was kind of on a siding for a while, and some of the guys got out and went over and picked some melon and brought them back to the train. Watermelons. But anyway, we did get on the train back to train and got to L.A. and then he went in a streetcar from L.A. And one went to Long Beach and one went to the naval base right next to it. I can't think of the name right now, but I went out to another naval base out there, and we got out there, and it was about 4 in the afternoon. They said, well, the ship's not out there. You're supposed to wait here on the dock. We waited and waited, and it got to be dark in the evening, and first thing you know, I had a big sea bag, big and round, and big and tall, and a little ditty bag, like a carry-on bag. And he was dressed, you know. And the Liberty boat probably come in and said, well, good morning, take you out. The ship was anchored up out there in the sloppy bay there, and so pulled along the side of the ship, and it had to carry all this stuff, and the boat's rocking like crazy, and you had to go up almost straight stairs carrying that stuff. And that's where we got aboard the ship.
What was the name of the ship, Dick?
USS Lorenz.
Yeah.
It's a troop ship. We operated on the West Coast for about a month. And then we took off out of Oakland with some troops for New Guinea, Lae, New Guinea, L-A-E. And we was about 28 or 29 days without seeing land, going all the time in zigzag. And then we made 2 assault landings. We made one on Linn Gulf in the Philippines, and we made the Okinawan D-Day. And then we supplied troops to the, when Japan surrendered, we took troops up there to Wakayama.
Now you were a cook?
Cook, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I can imagine you had to prepare meals under some pretty harsh conditions. And
well, we had, when our ship was a troop ship, and we had landing barges, 26 landing barges hanging around the ship with crews, two or three of our men drove the boats up to shore, backed them off, and come back for more. And we had, at one time, we had 1,500 troops on the ship, plus our crew, which was about 700 or 800 at that time, on the ship. And everybody was, the room this high, it'd be 6 bunks probably. On stack it up. Somebody'd be way up there. And
so what year did you get discharged then?
46.
46? 3 years you were in there?
Well,
Yeah.
I was not quite 3 years,
Yeah.
but I was inactive for about 6.
Mm-hmm. And then when you come back, did you go back into the dairy business?
Oh, right away.
Yeah.
Didn't even have a vacation.
Now who was in the business? Your brother,
My 2 brothers, my brother Bob and Ralph.
Ralph, and was your dad still working the dairy?
Oh yeah, he's still working there. He had a route, and
Now, at this time period, what was your products that your dairy was
we
selling?
had some dairy stores, a dairy store on 3rd Avenue West, and we had a couple of ice cream stands. Dad had like little fold-down fruit market stands. He had one on right up here on 1st Avenue on 10th Street, where the Allen lot is there. And one the thing wasn't moved by a little truck. And he'd have a ice cream cooler in there, and a lot of kinds of ice cream, and he hired a gal to stand there and put the door up and open up for the afternoon, and he'd sell our cones and quarts of ice cream, and he had one on Ellis Boulevard and E Avenue West. There's a tavern over there now, but it was a Fields Root Beer. And Fields Root Beer, nickel. And they sold root beer and they made it, mix it up there. And on the same corner of that same place, we rented some space from him and had an ice cream store there. And we sold ice cream and made ice cream. And in the dairy store on 3rd Avenue, we sold milk and ice cream. But we didn't sell a lot of milk. Most of them got their milk delivered by the.
Was this what you called the Dairy Maid country stores?
Well, we changed the name. We started we call it Dairy Maid our ice cream, and made a lot of flavors of ice cream. 15, 20, 30 flavors sometimes. You wouldn't have them all at one time, but we had our products were whole milk with cream on it, and half and half cream, or bottles of cream, and half and half, and whipping cream, 3 cream products, some in quarts and some in half pints. And,
glass.
Yeah, all glass.
Cheese.
Cottage cheese and little cartons, and then 5-pounders for the restaurants. And had some butter. We didn't make the butter, but we got butter from a creamery to sell with it. And one time, Dad did, one place in the dairy did churn butter. They had a guy there cutting butter and wrapping it up, and he got milk and made butter, and he said the runoff off the butter would be buttermilk. It's a sour product. And
did Grade A come onto the scene yet? Grade A milk.
Yeah, it was on, but it wasn't a big thing till about in the 40s, some 45, 46, 47.
And at this time, you continued being on the route?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. By that time, I imagine you got to know quite a few your customers pretty well.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people, and I was kind of helping with all the routes. Somebody quit someplace, I'd run the route for a while and get some other guy on it, and I'd help. I'd be around when the guy was on vacation or sick or something, and I run all the routes off and on.
Did you just drop it off at the front door, or was there times you took it around and put it in the refrigerator?
Sometimes you went in the back door and opened the door and put it in the refrigerator, and put it around where it was cool. My dad had there was a lot of Greek restaurants down in Cedar Rapids, and he'd carry the cream in, I'd carry the half pints in. He said, well, go over there in the cooler and put the half pints in. Well, you have to pull out what they had left from yesterday and rotate it, see. And I used to, I was 6 or 7 years old, 8.
Yeah.
And
when you rotated it, did you take the old stuff back, or could you leave it in the showcase for a certain period?
We was there the day before, so it wasn't that long. Yeah. Nowadays, some of the dairies only deliver once or twice a week, different stores. But
of course, I imagine they didn't have the refrigeration systems either, like they do nowadays.
They had small refrigerators in restaurants. And
yeah. Did you get married yet?
No.
What year did you get married?
Anyway, I met this girl at Danceland. Mm-hmm. Girl with the picture there.
Was Danceland one of your
no
watering holes or
Danceland was down here on 3rd Street and 1st Avenue.
Yeah, but what I meant was one of your favorite places to go?
Oh, we just go there and dance and we meet some girls. There's one girl I met her and I took her home one night and got more acquainted with her, and more acquainted, and I thought, well, we're going to get married sometime. And they had a radio program on the radio from California, Newlyweds, or Happy Bride, or whatever it was, I can't remember. But so she wrote out to them, and they said, well, come in January 15th. Huh. So about the 10th of January, we got on the Streamline train and went out there. And they give us a stove and they give us a ring and it's a movie. It was not a TV, it was a radio thing. And after that, they give us a limousine ride out to the airport. And they put us on an airplane to Las Vegas for honeymoon for a week.
Oh, so you got married at that time then?
Well, they went in a big hotel, but they had a garden, a little chapel in the hotel's area where they broadcast from the building, but you go out, the little chapel, get married, and back in after you're married. I mean, the same program. And then we had a dinner that day there, and Dad had a dinner at the hotel, and some of our family and friends were there.
Yeah.
So we had some California relation. And
What was her name, Dick?
Beverly Oldfield.
Mm-hmm.
Beverly Oldfield. We used to always talk about her great uncle was one of the race car drivers. And he had a picture of one of her uncles had a beard, and he was like Buffalo Bill, you know.
Well, while Alan is on that board, these were some pictures of you and your wife.
Yes. Yeah, this was before we was married, and this was shortly after we was married. And I grew the beard.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You know,
What was the occasion there? A centennial or something?
I was running up. We got built up more ice cream stores. We had First Avenue. Remember, we opened that up, and then we put one down on 6th Street Southwest. And we're going to slow down routes and go to Cash and Carry supermarket. Benji was coming in. So then we bought out a dairy store on Mount Vernon Road, and just ran milk out there. And then we bought a piece of ground up on Center Point Road and put a store out there. And then we put up our dairy for sale, the routes for sale. And Cyril's Dairy, which is run by the Chatamas, he come around and looked things over, and we said, well, I'll take it. I'll put both dairies together and have bigger routes. Yeah. And we would be out of the routes, but we had the option to keep bottled milk to run for the stores and to make ice cream. So before that, we started going to the country with ice cream on a truck, with just a piece of dry ice and a big trunk for all day, and we'd sell ice cream through the country. And then that's how we got to doing that.
Why did you decide to sell it?
Sign of the times.
Cyril's. Pardon?
Sign of the times. Big paper was coming, paper cartons were coming, and it was a big expense going to paper cartons. My dad didn't have paper cartons way back when I was a little boy. He had round ones that would come ready-made, and you fill them on a fillet. And they were bigger at the bottom, like a cone shape, and then come to a cap size on top. And I think we still got one of them old cartons.
Was this about the time you lost your brother, Bob?
No, we lost my brother after we sold the dairy. I started going over to Jones in Cedar County, farm to farm, places I never heard of before. Well, getting back to the beard, I got to go to a little town of Morley and Martell, and it was centennials were coming around. And one guy had this beard, and I said, well, I'm going to grow a beard for, I'll go over to your party. So Morley, just a little burg down there between the Annamarts and the Kennisville, I grew a beard that one year, and never grew a beard till I was after 40. But it was full, Amish type beard. Mm-hmm. And then next year, Lisbon had 125 years, so I thought, well, I'd go over there to theirs. And finally, Palo had 125 years, about 25 years ago. And I rode one then, too. And I always cut them off afterward.
Wasn't your dad very much into horses, raising horses?
Yeah, but he liked horses because it was a work thing on the farm. And then we had a horse to ride and a horse to drive buggies. And He went to Missouri one time on a trip and come back with a $100 horse, which is a lot of money in that days, but it was a great horse. And then he decided to buy some more horses and do some more breeding. And
Were they what type? Harness?
no, they were Tennessee, or no, not Tennessee. There was American saddle horses, and he did have some of them would drive with a little buggy.
Then, how old was your brother Bob when he got killed?
I don't know exactly, but I know we'd run let's see, he'd been gone about 15 years now.
Yeah.
15 years.
And you had horses to ride. Did you and your brothers share your dad's interest in horses? I mean,
Yeah, my brother did more than I did. Yeah. I was busy taking care of the routes, and we run the route, the ice cream route, not 5 days a week, but 6 days a week, and long days. And went through down the country roads and stopped farm after farm, and got to know the people real well. And some people would ask you to stop for supper, or stop for a cup of coffee, or we'll run by Monticello and Prairieburg. And
did your brother? You had mentioned he got killed by falling off. What did the horse rear up on him? And
reared up, I guess, and he fell on the
blacktop on his head. Yeah. And what year did your dad? Do you remember what year your dad passed away?
No.
The figure I seen in the news clipping I had was 79.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Okay. And then so you sold the dairy out.
Mother lived about 3 more years or 4 more years.
And
84, and then my brother died about 89 or so.
Yeah. Then you sold the company out to Sears, so that was the
Well,
end.
we sold it to Sears while he was still living.
Oh, okay.
He was in charge of making ice cream and bottling milk and kind of doing the managing.
Yeah.
And I was a route man, and my other brother Ralph, he was supposed to supply the dairy stores.
Yeah.
Hauled a lot of milk out for a long time. Half-gallon jugs. It was a good price. Price of milk.
I think it was
$1.20.
$1.30 a gallon.
Yeah, and
No, can't see it from here, Alan. $1.30 in the middle of the
$1.30.
a gallon.
Yeah. Then, so what did you do after the dairy business then? What did you decide to? Is this when you become interested in goats and
Well,
racing
that was
goats?
just a kind of a hobby thing.
Yeah.
But you know, I remember one time we was in the dairy business when the economy got kind of bad. Brother was still living, and he ran the dairy. And things got higher. He was taking in 10 cents and dollars, but things got to be $10 and $20 and $100 bills, and mechanical bills and refrigeration bills. First thing you know, you'd owe some facet of your cost would be way out of shape. And we were buying milk from some farmers in the country. The tank truck was picking it up. It was grade A then. And one morning, I guess, Bob says, well, a couple of farmers came in this morning and said the checks wouldn't pass. And so he went to the bank and he borrowed some money and paid them, and we kept going, but our business from then on was shaky. Our economic situation was, the economy was down because people were closing factories in Cedar Rapids, but costs are up.
What time period are we talking about? The early 80s or?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the farm economy went bad and.
Yeah.
Dairy Maid, I think I read someplace that was one of your store was the last store to offer homemade ice cream. Did I read that right?
And patch ice cream.
Yeah, locally made ice cream. I mean.
Oh, yeah, locally. Yeah, there was one time there was Hutchinson's and Russell's and Grace and Rawson's and crabs and Dow's. They all made ice cream at some time or other. And Hutchinson's, which sold out to Borden's later on, they used to run trucks out to little stores in the country with ice cream, hauling the stores. And it was a big business in town. Made ice cream bars right down on 3rd Street on the corner of 4th Avenue. And it was quite an establishment.
So you've had a very interesting hobby of raising goats.
Well, it was kind of a fluke. And it come up in the paper. I used to look in the paper every day what the animals were for sale. And I guess I could see the farmers closing out, not having cows no more. And my grandpa out in the country used to have farmers, all these next door neighbors milked a cow or milked a herd of cows. Or next farm up the road had a dairy. I mean, they bought it and took it to town. And other places were like that around because there was a lot of dairies back in the 30s. People needed ready money for their product. And there wasn't big factories to run their product. And so they just sold it piece by piece out to people. And
You thought you'd try that with goats.
well, I remember what happened when you lose your supply of raw material, you're close to shaky. And I thought, well, get some goats. And had a kid on the northwest side. I was delivering the ice cream route here in town, and to homes. And this one kid, I said one time, I said, hey, John, there's 4 goats to paper over at Monticello. This was in late '79. I said, let's go buy them. We're 50-50. And he was a high school kid, Roosevelt School, or a senior then, high school. And so, okay, I went over and got them 4 goats. Cost $120 for 4 goats. A few days later, I had seen John. I said, John, I got the goats. Oh, Dick, I decided not to go 50-50. I'm putting my money in my pickup truck. But over the years, I guess so the first year I had them, well, let's go back this way. We was cow people, and all the neighbors were cow people. The 29s and 30s and 19s and 40s and 50s. But anybody had goats, unless it was just a pet, was a fluke. I mean, Dick Davis over there, or old lady so-and-so down the road had a couple of goats, or dumb Dick Herman over there. It was all good people. But if you didn't have cows or the click of the item, you wouldn't need Angus stock cows, or you need Hampshire hogs, or
Yeah.
Dorset sheep or something.
People kind of look down at you for.
Yeah, but I got them. The first year I had them, I took them off, the 4 of them, and had them bred someplace. The next spring we had little ones.
You had 8 goats.
Well, yeah. And so what are you going to do with them? Well, let the little ones suck them. And I found somebody you want a little pet to put in the backyard? Yeah. So $10. Good big money at the time. And I sold another one, and I bought another one someplace else. And then next year I got them bred again. And I thought, well, I'm starting milking this year. So I started milking them, and I wouldn't use that stuff. Spare me. Anyway, that milk, I had some relation with health food people. They really went for health food. I give them all the milk I had, put it in bottles, string it and everything, give it to them. And then later on, I was making this ice cream route. I tell people about my goats and said, hey, Dick, bring me a quart of that, will you? The baby can't drink nothing, but okay, take a couple quarts of it. So I strained it and I took a couple quarts once in a while. Somebody said, well, the baby's okay now, we don't need goat milk no more. The boy that went for a whole year with feed him goat milk, or maybe 2 years. And kept getting more goats and selling some, and some of them come and butcher them, and some of them die sometimes too.
Is there any advantages over goat milk, over cow milk. Is goat milk any advantage?
More digestible. More digestible.
That's why people would use it for health reasons, for whether
Yeah.
babies or grown-ups.
Yeah, it's rich, so, but it's digestible.
Do you still milk the goats, Dick, on a daily basis?
This afternoon, I will.
Mhm.
Some of them are going dry now, but, and when I dry them up, we're gonna take a little trip to Missouri next couple weeks.
So you won't, as long as you're milking, you got to be there every day, and then
Every day.
once they dry
I think
up.
could skip one day maybe,
Yeah.
but they would be awful full or next day.
Normally, are they like cattle or like cows? They have to be milked twice a day almost.
Well, they used to, but I only milk once a day now.
Yeah.
And I milk when I get around to it. Not,
And I see, what do? Just tie them up to the fence and they stand there and let
Yeah.
you milk them?
I used to sometimes, some of them I'll catch in the open and get on my hands and knees without even tying them. And they'll stand, you know. Of course, right now the flies are, they're kicking around and trying to get rid of the flies. The flies are bad.
These three in this picture, Dick, are they pets?
Yes, they're pets. They're all pets, but they're business animal also.
How old are these?
Probably 6 months.
Were they born this year or last year?
Last year.
Last year. They're sure cute.
They were taken in about November.
In this larger picture, Dick, we probably should have got that in there earlier, but this was when you still had the one of the milk routes.
And, you
Or
know,
the-
ice cream mostly on this one, but
Yeah.
we had milk earlier.
Yep. Dick, what about family? How many children did you and your wife have in it?
5 children,
Mhm.
Robin and Skip and Lori and Roger and Vicky.
Are they still in the Cedar Rapids area?
Robin's in Scottsdale, Phoenix, Arizona. Skip is in Asia, a place called Bali down in Indonesia. And he is married over there. Lori lives close by, but has 3 grandkids with her. And my son Roger does extra fine woodwork, desk and chairs, and he lives on Northwest Side. My daughter lives in our house. We live together, and they're single.
Grandchildren?
3 grandchildren by my first daughter.
Well, Dick, unless you have any other memories you want to share with us, the Cedar Rapids History Center, the Linn County Historical Society, would like to thank you very much for sharing your memories with us.
Thank you very much.